Hi everybody, this is my third and fourth Bible. First one was mine, second one was my daughter's. Please enjoy. If you want to fast forward to certain parts, feel free. Otherwise, covers a lot of the steps that I did, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to someone. If nothing else, Tim and Dave, enjoy your the process of seeing your Bibles get rebound. Thanks very much, everybody, and hope you enjoy it. All the adhesive is not on the back of the duct tape, and it's sticking. It's actually sticking to the page right there. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is that is full of thick adhesive. So I'm going to try and just cut that out, and I'm going to try and carefully splice in from an NLT that I don't use anymore, but it's got some very, I wouldn't say perfectly similar paper, but it's got similar paper. So maybe I'll find a page in here that I can trim, splice in, that'll get me to the spine, and then maybe it'll be better.
just cutting through the adhesive, the razor blade is struggling. So you can kind of see here, it's just thick adhesive here. Oh, that's adhesive. Okay, so here is the 2 pages that I've quote unquote repaired. I just kind of stole them from a different Bible with similar paper, with some unique page numbers for you, and just extended them a little bit, and I will try to fit them in there and glue them. The gutter parts will probably be a little bit tight, but it should overall, I hope, look better than duct tape and or a mess of duct tape adhesive. Okay, on this one here, which is number 3, the old factory glue is actually getting quite, it's hard to tell by that, but you can just kind of tell by feeling it, and it's getting really brittle, and I think that's why there's some issues with opening the text block. You can see it's broken the glue in there, probably from wear on a certain chapter, maybe. You can tell maybe right there in Proverbs, if that was due to actual length of time in that book reading, or okay, one thing with number 3 here, the original text block glue on the spine is actually quite, I'll try and get close here. It's hard to tell, but it is quite, it's a brittle, and the glue on here seems quite firm and dried out and hard. So I wasn't planning on this, but I'm going to probably pull this cloth off, this muslin or cheesecloth type backing that is factory. I'm going to pull that off for them, and I'm going to try and either scrape off some of this old glue. I might go and sand some of it off once I have it clamped tight, and then put a fresh layer of PVA glue and a fresh layer of muslin / cheesecloth on there, and then hopefully that will, because you can kind of see the signatures there. But try to make this a little bit better of a more firmer of a text block, but we'll see. Clamped between two 3/4 inch pieces of plywood to clean that off. hard to do this one-handed. Transfer the lines a little beyond so I can see it on the top and the bottom there, or the sides. So one of the things on this one is I did a 3/8 fold over, which, well, on both number 3 and 4. Which in hindsight seems to be a bit thin or narrow, not wide enough, but I guess we'll see. I'll trim that after I glue this. But I guess for now, we'll see. So I've got a new bottle here. Okay, so this is number 4. Hope you can see that there. There. I'll put on some light. There is some nice texture in this goatskin on this piece here, which is probably, from what I remember, closer to the neck. The creases are a little bit more pronounced. And I guess it's personal preference. Whereas this side is a little bit, the texturing is a little less noticeable. It's a little more uniform and not as pronounced. So I guess I hope you like the texture, because that's what I like. And I'm going to make that your cover, the front, like that. So, hope we're on the same page. But I have messed up on my measurements here. Luckily, they are too big left and right. I gave a little bit of extra in the spine. Because what I noticed in my other ones, as I wrap around and you have a bit of a curve here over the spine, it takes away a little bit from this measurement extending out here, and so it seems to pull it back a little bit. So I measured a little bit extra, but I also measured a little extra here and a little bit extra that way. So as I wrap it around, I've got quite a bit extra. Just add a little bit more hair to your, more glue to your ribbons. Okay. So I'm going to redo my measurements here and still give a little bit in the spine. My center line is the same because I've already made that cut. So now I just got to trim off a little bit off this side, a little bit off this side. Actually, I think what I know what I did. I just did math wrong, I think. So let me see here. Tempted to not admit all of this, but math happens when you're not paying attention. So the width of the Bible is 5 5/8, and that's a bit generous. So 5 5/8 is wide. side, and let's measure here, 1 1/8 thick, and I have 1 1/8 thick. So these are my actual measurements. And so 5 5/8 is 11 times 2. So 1, 2 plus the spine measurement. And so I got these two added up is 10, 11 1/4, which is right. And then 1 1/4. So I gave it a 1/16 of an inch on either side, and I'm going to keep that. But where I did my math wrong is where I add 11 1/4 plus 1 1/4, and I originally put 13 1/2, and I think that's where I went wrong. So that should be 11, 12 plus 2/4 is 1/2, so it should be 12 1/2, and that's where I basically have a 1/2 inch extra on either side. So let's just change that 12 1/2 plus, and then I did 3/8 and 3/8 on either side for my yap. And the height I did the same thing, 8 1/2 plus 3/8 and 3/8 for yap. So I've got to first cut down the liner a little bit on each side, that 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to have to trim my cover, which I'm probably going to have to re-skive here. So I'm going to measure out, let's get rid of this glue here. So have that in the way. Basically redid my measurements. I'm at 13 1/4. 6 5/8 is half of 13 1/4, so I measured the 6 5/8 in my center line, and then out to 13 1/4 out here and 0 there. I'm just going to double check my measurements here. So the closer I get this corner, which is riding the glass, the closer I get it to the edge of the leather, the thinner it is, because you're riding it closer and therefore thinner into this thickness of the leather. So if I'm way out here on the glass on this side, this is going to be thicker because there's a steeper gap, a thicker gap between the corner and the top of the leather. This is a profile, side profile. But if I get closer to the glass, then this angle in here is thinner. So the closer I get, so this would be I'm hardly taking anything off. But the closer I get to here, I'm taking more and more off, and then my angle and my pressure. So for those of you that have skived, you probably understand what I'm talking about. I'm just explaining this for people that maybe this is your first one, or you're trying it for the first time, or struggling. I also bought this thinking this wasn't working, but I haven't found the knack of this yet, although I got this, I think, crazy sharp, but it seems, because I'm having trouble getting my close enough to the angle here, but so I don't know, I'm having someone that uses this style. What am I doing wrong here? Maybe I need to go, oh, maybe like that. That seems to go better. So this is catching the high spots. I can tell there's some higher spots a little further in, like a thickness planer for those that are woodworkers. But this one seems to be, so there's going to be a hump. This is thin right on the edge that I've done already, and as it goes up and then levels out to the thickness of this leather, and this is actually still already pretty thin, but as it goes up there's a hump, a bend, or a curve, and so I think what this is doing right now is taking that curve out and flattening it from the thin part to the thicker part. It's taking off that, but I feel like I was having more success with this, but the other one I probably just need to practice more, because this I feel like I can get it really low down next to the, not up like this, but down. So I'm still able to get that hump off. So I want to get this is the liner. And I'm gonna skive just a little bit of the thickness here, because you can maybe 2 millimeters. So because this is thick and I want the fold over I don't want that thickness on the edge to be, well, it actually feels pretty good. 1 second. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it. It feels pretty good. Okay. Just marking the thickness of my spine on the cover. Just transferring that mark all the way up. And this is primarily so I can just draw a line on the cover underneath here, knowing where I'm going to put glue. So I don't put glue in this area here. Not yet. So I don't want glue in here because I want these flaps to be able to open when I put the text block in. And so again, I had measured this out to be for about a 3/8 of a fold over. Hindsight, not enough, but I think it's going to be fine. Just have to take my time. I think it'll be a little easier because you lose a little bit as you fold over, and it's going to be quite thin there, but made a note of it for the next one. I'll start to keep track of all of my pages here, and I will trim this off as per some feedback of other people after I get that done. So I'm gonna now trace this line from there to there. And I'm not going to bother tracing the outer edge this time. I'll just, if I get a little bit past, that's fine. Actually, you know what? I am going to lining up my center lines here. because you got these little waves of the where the leather stretches as you're cutting. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's because my skiving knife isn't sharp enough, but I mean, I think it's the leather is just thin enough that I'm stretching it to some degree as I skive. Gave that a bit of a stretch here by hand, the whole piece here, but I'm going to line up my center marks to start. There, that actually pulled it past a little bit. That may help. And maybe having sat for a week, it kind of relaxed a little bit compared to what I had originally measured and come back in, but this mark top. Okay, now, and let's Diego again to kind of keep the left side here firm while I tape this side. And I don't know what others do, but I put painter's tape back on here just to keep the cut edges lined up. And so it's now acting as one piece of leather again. Okay. No offense to Diego, but he was handy. Okay, I'm going to stop this and I'm just going to do a time lapse here. Okay, so I just glued both sides, just rollered it. I got a little bit of squeeze out on the sides, which I'm okay with, because what I did on my other ones is I just go back with the Dremel. I know some people skive with the Dremel, and I haven't done that yet. I'm tempted. I just want to maybe rig up a little jig, but I think I'm getting the hang of skiving, so I'm not too overly concerned with that. But anyways, but once this dries, it gets a little bit crunchy, so I'll come back with the Dremel and just kind of score that up, scuff it. And I'm also going to scuff just a little bit of this sheepskin liner for the glue to stick to it a little bit better as on the fold over. Just to make sure I get a good fold over, so I still have to trim that corner. I'll do that after. I'm going to lay things flat here with some pressure on it overnight both number 3 and number 4. So I will set Diego off to the side. So I should be good. And I'm going to have to kind of stop here for the night. So number 3 is sandwiched in here. Hopefully you don't have glue sticking to it. See here how that's coming. It looks good. The fold over I wish was a little bit more, but I should be able to make that work. Okay, so just a kind of a note to myself. I measured for 3/8 of an inch of a fold over. Yeah, 3/8 of an inch fold over there. It might have been even a touch less by the time I was ready to fold over, and in actuality I've got, by the time the actual fold over here, at least on this part, is less than a quarter or less. So, but we're going to work with it. And now I've kind of glued up this side. I'm giving it an extra couple seconds to saturate, soak in, and then I'll coat it again before I fold it over. So yeah, just to add on to that, I'm gonna try and show here. Excuse the print in the back here. I'm gonna touch that. Okay, so I'm just shy of 3/8. I wanted 3/8, but I'm just shy. So I think I trimmed after I skived it. It stretched, and then I trimmed it one last time to get a nice clean straight edge. I'm just shy of 3/8, so we'll measure just on this side of the spine here. Maybe a 1/16 or a 32nd shy of 3/8, and now I'll fold it over. Okay, so now that I've done the fold over, about the same spot is at a quarter of an inch. So definitely need more to round the thickness, and you lose as you come over. So Probably measuring a 1/2 inch would be good. I'm going to write that on my notes. So a little narrower there, and a little wider here, but the corners are good. Okay, the last one I had this wrong, so this is number 3. So cover, front, back. And then so it looks a little, some of it looks a little wavy or inconsistent along here. And that's just because it's so thin as I'm pulling it and stretching it. Some stretched a little bit more than others. This probably not enough. And I figured what I need to do is add, depending on the leather, maybe just I dampen it first before I add my glue. That way the leather is a little more supple and stretchier. But anyways. So I'm scuffing the liner a bit here. And now I'll take a little bit of the liner off. Just to maybe help with the bulk of the fold over. Vacuum up here in a second. So there you can see the glue. Squeezed out just so it'll hold that tight. 1.25 inch spacing, just some leather lacing. It's a little more consistent. And then just slice them off at slight angles. And I draw the line on this piece of cardstock, which will get glued to the leather on the spine. But I also extend the mark just a little bit past, so that when I'm looking straight down, I can kind of see where center is. Okay, now I'm just making this distance a little more uniform. This is number 4. So I'm just eyeballing the distance here so it's uniform, parallel, and then I take this up against there, and there's just a slight Okay, so the ribs are on the other side of this cardstock, face down. I do a little notch like that, then you don't see from there. Center line down the cardstock, center line on the leather, so I can kind of sight that down and hope that my lines up. This point isn't necessarily center. I just kind of cut that by hand, but I line it up with this mark up here, and so because this is at least 2 millimeters thick, I believe, as I do the fold over, I don't want a thick bulge right on the outside here. So I want it to be a little bit more flat and uniform as it transitions into the thickness of the liner. So I'm just tapering it off, skiving it, I guess, but a sharp, just to help with a bit of a bulge there. Okay, a little brief update here as I continue the foldovers. Yeah, I just did this long edge, so this edge was the first one. I think one of the things I found helpful was lay my well, and I skived a bit of the liner and a steep slope there, and then that helps with the bulge at the edge. And then as I laid my glue on the fold over, then I would take the ruler and then bend it over as I'm doing it. But then once it's over, I'm try to do this one-handed. I'm taking a ruler and I'm pushing and I'm digging in as I'm pushing that way. So because the fold over is very thin and getting saturated with glue, it stretches really easy. So to keep it uniform, I'm pushing like this, and then as the glue is squeezing out, I can push here and hold right at the edge and then wipe. And then as I'm wiping, I'm not pushing up into the edge of the leather, causing it to push away and bulge up right on the very edge. So then I can just keep moving along, hold it here, push, stretch it in this way, hold it, wipe, and seems to work good. I get a nice, much straighter line doing it that way. So all right, test fit. Okay, so before I start hot stamping with my Frankenstein setup, I want to make sure that I get a bunch of things that are stable. So I've got a laser, a stud finder with a laser that's going to shoot across here, and I'll find where probably the bottom of the letters will line up. And then I have that line there before is where gives me like a vertical reference up and down, so I can line up the spine of the Bible along that paper. That's what I did on my last one, number 2. But to make sure this doesn't move, I've got this is mounted on magnets. This is a holder, and typically these little pins will drive into your drywall, but I've glued magnets onto here, onto a piece of scrap sheet metal, and then I just tape this to a wall is what I normally do. But today I've just binder clipped them onto this book under here, and to make sure my mat and this press doesn't move, homemade press, it just pivots, a piece of scrap, it's all scrap. I put painter's tape on the bottom of the table, or on the table, and then the bottom of the mat. Bottom of the table, bottom of the mat. And so then what I'm going to do is put a dab of hot, and same with this piece of wood that holds my whole press is the base. Tape on here and tape underneath the piece of wood, and then I'm going to put a dab of hot glue in there, press it down. Then later all I have to do is pop that off. The tape will come off both sides. I've seen that on a reel, and so it's not my idea, but then everything will kind of stay where it should and shouldn't be jiggling around and moving, and then all of a sudden I've lost my frame of reference. Okay, so for number 4, I had a little bit extra fold over than number 3, and so I ended up with a bit wider of a margin. Let's leave it upside down. So I ended up with just under 3/8 of an inch of a fold over, which I like. Right there, that's almost 3/8 right there. The top I did here first, and maybe that didn't have enough, and so that's like a 32nd over a quarter. Not quite 3/8, definitely not 3/8. So that may make it challenging to get a consistent sewing perimeter all the way around that will still line up in that 1/4 inch. But so as a note to myself, at least a 1/2 inch of available fold over before, after I skive, and if it stretches a bit, have a half inch of fold over available. Then I can trim it to what I want, whether that's 3/8 or, you know, a little bit more than 3/8, or even half, and fold it over. I think it makes it a lot easier to deal with, but I guess it probably depends on how much yap I have. So. Okay, that's a test over top, and I think I'm ready to go. Okay, number 3 with the copper. Holy is done. I'm going to leave the holy set up the way it is for the lettering and switch to my next cover, which will be holy in gold. Okay, so now I just switched covers. Line up. With the laser. I apologize, I can't remember who showed this on the rebinding group, but I like it. Okay, so hopefully we'll this down and line up left and right. Okay, so I gotta go hold that Frankenstein arm with my head. A little to the right. More to the right. Okay, that looks good left and right. Let you go through here with the homemade. Okay. Now I'm just going to straighten it out. Come down a smidge. Okay, that should be good. So now I'll put the tape in place to hold that. Tape. That shouldn't move. Double check left and right. Looks good. Prop that back up. Necessity is the mother of invention. Heat gun. Get it up to 250. Okay, I'm going to come down just a touch. 206. Let's rock. go. One time, moderate pressure, or else it pushes into the leather too much, and I think that depends on how squishy or how supple the leather is and how much the letters will go in, because otherwise you risk the letters going in and then burying the shoulder of the letter face, and then you get kind of letter or gold sticking to the outside. So it bleed over, I guess, but it catches on there a little bit. So I'll just gently kind of scrape off the high parts here. There we go. Copper, gold. Nerve-wracking. Still a little hot. Okay, so I've got, this is slightly, Bible is just not much actually, it's about the same. So I'm going to leave this setting here. I've got one or two chunks, maybe just one chunk of wood there that is a spacer, just to kind of give me the right amount to fill up the space in the groove. So on here I've written groove on the top part just as a reminder for me. So this is the groove in the text letters. So you can kind of see as a reminder that that always has to go up, which will be the bottom of the letters. And this down at the bottom will be the top of the letters, which is correct, if you can see that. And then as a reminder, I've got left to right, just like you normally would. So I've got, if you can see that, I'll try to get the focus, B-I-B-L-E. So on here, it's upside down, but as my arm flips down all the way, it'll be the correct way. But I would rather take the extra time here. That's the downside of having just this propped up with a stick. So I'll push with some pressure on my thumb. Make sure they're lined up. There's a slight, enough of like for a hair maybe, of a gap to move these top to bottom. And I gotta remember to check this as it heats up, because it wants to, this loosened up on holy on those letters. So just as it heats up, I gotta remember just to tighten that a little bit, because I'd hate for them to shift while it's going. Okay, just switch the letters from Holy to Bible. Now I have to stay with gold. I wrote it on my cover so I don't get I got two on the go here, number 3 and 4. Friends that are from out east, and they sent their Bibles in the same shipment. And so now I would hate to do one gold, one copper on a cover. Okay, so now use my laser and line up the bottom of the letter where I want it. I'm going to confirm I have enough space at the top. The letter's about a 1/2 inch. So I will go this side and just use the centimeters. So I guess it was a 1/2 centimeter. Okay, I've got lots of room there. I want to try and get as close to wholly as I can without crowding it and making it look weird. Okay, so that should be good there. I have a good solid 1/2 centimeter. Confirm with wholly here that the letters are basically a 1/2 centimeter tall, maybe 5.5 millimeters. Okay, so I'm gonna just tape that there for a second so it doesn't move on me. Now I'm gonna check left and right. Oh, and I'm way off. Checked. So I have to come move it straight over. Touch more. Okay, that looks good, I think. Check with the laser, make sure I'm still where I want to be. Perfect. Tape back on to keep it in place so it doesn't move. Prop that back up. I was using this as a way to stamp into the clear plastic. Then I could lay the clear plastic over top and line up where I want. But I like the laser better. Someone suggested that, and so I'm trying it. Okay, so on the last one I did on number 3 for this spot, I drew a line down the center, which is right there, and I can easily just line up my ruler to the center, so that saves a bit of realignment. I got my laser there, and now I'm just double checking the angle of this laser in reference to the Bible. So I'm at about 9.6, so I think I have to just come down, make sure it's even. Nine 9.6. Okay, so that's pretty even. And now I just tape that down so it doesn't move. Okay. Okay, so I've got my one layer, and I think what I'm going to use, this is glued to the spine. I had some overflap in case I wanted to go to the flaps here. But I think what I'm going to do is just fold this over and allow it to become like an Oxford hollow. And I'm hoping that enough pressure will be pushing on here and in the spine where I already have some cardstock that the hubs are glued to. And I'm hoping, it seems to be laying nice and flat, so I'm hoping that that will so I just got to get this out of the way here for a second. It's a little bit extra of an inconvenience trying to do it all for the camera, but it'll help me for my next ones to recall what I did and what I didn't like, and maybe it'll help others. Because, you know, I sure appreciate all the content that people have put out there, so that we can kind of learn from one another. So a little bit too much here, so I'm going to feed that into the spine. But I'm also going to fold that over now, so okay, so put a little extra on here. Okay, that should be nice and saturated. I touched up the corners with some black Sharpie, just in case you can see in there. Same with on the inside of the spine there. I covered that up with black Sharpie, because I noticed on my daughters you could actually see in there. So, okay, ribbons to the top. Oop. Confirm the top of the text block there, and I just got glue on my hand. 1 second. Take that off the edge. Get my hand up. Okay. Now, take that off the edge just for a second. And put some glue in here. Make sure I saturate the flaps with some glue. And they have a slight taper on them. 45 glued down. Okay, I need a piece of scrap there so I can fold that over, get glue on there without getting it everywhere. Okay, I think I got lots there. Lots over here. And now, back to my text block. Gotta work somewhat fast here. Keep the ribbons out of the way. I should have tucked them in. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. Hopefully they stay out of the way now. Okay. Top, and just put a little bit of extra glue down here where the flaps will be. That could have soaked into that muslin or premium, depending on what you call it. But it's a higher quality cheesecloth, essentially. Get it right down to the edges. So I'm hoping that's going to be a nice tight fit in there. Okay, here we go. Little V flap in there. Push that all the way in. Get that out of the way now. Get my ruler, try to push the text block down while pulling the leather up. Spin it. Same thing on this side. Push the text block down firmly. I'm pulling that up. Okay, I'm going to check for alignment to see how the text block is sitting. That seems good. good. Okay, and I've got a nice flat fit here against the text block and the spine. So I'm going to just push the text block in there while pulling up on the sides a bit. Looks good. Take that ribbon out of there. Okay. I'm going to clamp it just to be safe. And I've got one clamp upstairs because I was using it for the stitching that I just finished on this one. Okay, get that, because there is a bit of a raised edge here just due to the way the text block is. It's kind of got a bit of a, it could be partly due to the glue when I put the original but I'll do that. Actually, I think I'm just going to clamp that with some weight. That should be good because it's fitting nice and tight there. So that's good. There we go. Almost done. Just the end sheets to go. And I think number 3 is almost done. Stop. Okay, just about to put my end sheets on, and just scuffing it up a little bit with a bit of sandpaper, just so that it adheres a little bit better and have less risk of separating from the leather. Okay, so this customer asked me to remove the first couple pages, the presentation page, because it was